Hey everyone, we are so glad that you could join us today.
That's right, this is our last lesson in our Gideon series, so make sure to grab a Bible and something to write with. Now let's jump into the lesson.
Wasting all my days and nights.
Hey everyone, we are our very last lesson of our Gideon series that we just started a few weeks ago. And I love this lesson because I feel like it encapsulates kind of the whole story of Gideon. You know, Gideon was just a person like you and me. I think sometimes we read stories in the Bible and we read about people in the Bible and sometimes we forget that they're just ordinary people. They're just like you and I. They have families. They have jobs. They're growing up. They're struggling with things. They are just like you and I. They have the same feelings and emotions. But yet, the Lord calls them and they go on to do amazing things. And it's not because they're extraordinary. It's not because they have some superpower. No, it's because the Lord chooses them to work through them. And Gideon was just like you and I. He was a normal person. And he was by the tree one day, and an angel of the Lord comes to him and says, "You mighty man of valor, you are chosen to save the people of Israel." And we've talked about Gideon's reaction. I think it would be the same from you and I and a lot of other people, where we would say, "Are you sure, God? I don't know about this. Pick someone else. I'm not smart enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not cool enough. You must have the wrong person." Or maybe we say, "Is that really you, God? Maybe it's just something weird that I ate and I'm just hearing things." And eventually, Gideon starts to realize, no, this is the Lord. He's calling me. And he wants to save the people of Israel. So he starts coming around, and the very first thing that the Lord tells him to do is not go out and get training. All right, Gideon, go train with the sword. Go train, at the gym. I need you to get huge and ripped out so you can defeat all these Midianites. Don't go and get as many big people as you can. Don't get advice from anybody. He said, no, the very first thing I need you to do is get rid of sin in your life. Because he knew, Gideon, you can't accomplish everything I'm telling you to accomplish if you keep that sin in your life. And so Gideon went out, he destroyed the altar of Baal that was in his house. And he got rid of that sin that was with him every single day. And he destroyed it, and finally God said, all right, now we can do it. Let's go, let's roll. And so Gideon starts to get up the courage, he starts believing, but then something happens. All of a sudden, doubt starts to creep in again. And you see it through this whole process where Gideon is struggling with this doubt, with his self-confidence, with saying, God, I just don't know. I don't know if you've really called me to do this. Lord, can't you get somebody else? It's too big for me. And the Lord had to come and remind him and say, no, Gideon, I've called you. In fact, Gideon tested God twice with the fleece. And God answered him every single time. And I think the reason God answered him was because Gideon was honest with the Lord. See, whenever we start to have doubt, whenever we start to think, you know what, this is too big for me. And you know what, God, maybe you really haven't called me to this. We need to go to the Lord. Not go to other people and say, hey, what do you think? No, we come to the Lord and we say, God, what do you think? And the Lord will encourage us. He'll be honest with us. He'll speak to us. And he'll show us. He'll open up our eyes and we'll be able to see ourselves how God sees us. So we get to this point where Gideon had been questioning and the Lord reassured him, and finally Gideon says, all right, let's roll. So he gets an army together. He eventually gets about 22,000 soldiers together. And he packs them all in, and he's getting ready to fight, and all of a sudden the Lord comes to Gideon and says, Gideon, you know what? We need to make a little change. So Gideon says, all right, Lord, what do we need to do? He says, well, I want you to ask the army a question. I want you to ask if there's anybody in this 22,000 that may be a little bit scared. Maybe they're a little worried. Maybe they just don't want to fight, and so they don't like blood. Maybe they just don't want to get in this battle at all. Maybe they've never been trained, and so they're worried. I want you to ask them, and if anybody raises their hand and says, yes, I'm scared, I'm freaked out, I don't want to go fight nobody. If anybody raises their hand, tell them to go home. And so what does Gideon do? Gideon follows the instruction of the Lord. And he goes out and he says, hey, is there anybody scared here? Anybody worried? Anybody freaked out about going into battle? And people start to raise their hands one by one. And eventually, 12,000 soldiers are sent home. Gideon says, all right, if you're scared, go on home. And his army went from 22,000, it got cut by more than half, to 10,000. And all of a sudden he's got 10,000. I'm sure he's starting to freak out. I'm sure he's starting to worry. But he's saying, God, if this is what you call us to, if this is what you want, I'll follow you. I'll listen to you. And so they keep marching on to the Midianites. And they come to a body of water, and the Lord comes to Gideon again. He goes, hey, Gideon, I got one more thing. He says, all right, Lord, what do you want? He goes, well, I want you to watch how the men drink from the water. And I want you to separate them based on how they drink. And the Lord says, for the person that kneels down on his knees, and he takes the water in his hand and he drinks it, I want you to put them in a group. And for the other person that gets on his face and just buries his face in the water and just and drinks it all up, I want you to put them in a separate group. So Gideon says, all right, Lord. And so he's watching how everybody drinks, and a person gets on his knees and takes the water to his hand, to his mouth. And he says, all right, you go over there. And another person comes up, buries his face in the water and drinks it up. And he says, all right, you go over there. Till eventually all 10,000 have done this. And the Lord says, all right, you've got two groups. You've got one group of about 9,700 soldiers. And you've got a tiny little group of 300. And the Lord says, you know what? Let's take those 300. Send the other 9,700 home. And so Gideon sends home the rest of the army and only keeps 300 men. And they go out, and the Lord gives them this plan. They put pitchers, they take torches, put pitchers over them. And they each have a trumpet, and they go throughout the Midianite camp. They finally get to the Midianites, and these Midianites are everywhere. It's this massive army. And they spread out throughout the camp, and they have these torches. And they surround it, and they have their trumpet. And when Gideon says they all blow their trumpets, they smash their pitchers so the light comes up. And it says in the Bible that all the Midianites drew their swords and killed each other. They thought this massive army was coming. They freaked out. They didn't know who was who. And basically the Midianites all killed themselves. And you may ask, now, why did God do that? Why did he take 22,000 men, this huge army, when Gideon was starting to question himself, even if he was a leader? And he takes his 22,000 army and he smashes it down, takes it down to only 300 men. Was it because these 300 men were the greatest 300 men of all time and they were way better than all the army? No, I think we find the answer in Judges chapter 7, verse 2. And it says this, and the Lord said to Gideon, the people who are with you are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands, lest Israel claim glory for itself against me, saying, my own hand has saved me. What was the Lord saying? The Lord was saying, look, Gideon, that's not about you. That's not how many men you have. It's not how strong you guys are. It's not what type of battle array you have. No, it's not about any of that. It's about me. It's about the almighty, powerful God that's on your side. See, God had been trying for so long, for this whole period, this whole series that we've been doing, he's been trying to convince Gideon, it doesn't matter how cool you are. Gideon, it doesn't matter how strong you are, how smart you are. None of that matters. All that matters is you listen to me and you follow my instruction. See, God's just looking for people that will listen and obey him. Because God was saying, I'm the one with the power. I'm the one with the strength. I'm the one that is going to destroy the Midianites. I'm just going to do it through you. Just give me the ability to do it through you. I think Gideon finally realized, man, it doesn't matter how many people we have. We could have 3 million or we could have 300. It is God's power through us that matters. And all I have to do is listen to what he says and follow his instructions. The Lord is calling you. He's calling me. He's calling all of us to do amazing things in this world, to change this world. And he is just looking for people that will listen and will obey. And say, God, it doesn't matter what other people say about me. It doesn't matter even what I think about myself. All that matters is how you see me and what you've called me to do. And I will follow you. I will listen to you. And I will obey everything that you say. And I will change this world for you. We love you guys. We can't wait to see you soon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.